top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. Following the twin blast at Rock Holo last Monday, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte is considering the endorsement of government forces to place Sulu under martial law. But according to Malacanang, the president, however, would have to be careful in making decisions because it has to pass the scrutiny of both legislative and judicial branches of government. Argel Heducos has this story.
President Duterte is studying the recommendation of government forces to place Sulu under martial law following the twin blasts that rocked Holo on Monday. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque made the statement after Army Chief Lieutenant General Cirilito Sobejana and Philippine National Police Chief General Archie Gamboa agreed to recommend the declaration of martial law in Sulu following the bombings that killed 15 people and injured 70 others. In an interview with CNN Philippines, Roque said the president is studying the recommendations, especially the ones that came from the ground. As of Wednesday morning, aside from the 2 suicide bombers, the blast has killed 8 soldiers, 6 civilians, and 1 police officer. Mindanao was under martial law from May 2017 to December 2019 due to the war against pro-ISIS terrorists in Marawi City and the threat of terrorism in the entire island. For MB Now, this is Argel Heducos reporting.
Philippine National Police Chief General Archie Francisco Gamboa accused the proponents of the so-called revolutionary government of setting up top security officials to make it appear that the group has their support. Aside from Gamboa, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana also confirmed that he received an invitation for a meeting with the Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte National Executive Coordinating Committee. What drew the ire of Gamboa was that the invitation letters were also leaked to the media in an apparent bid to project that the group has the support of key government agencies. Gamboa said he had already ordered the Criminal Investigation Detection Group to investigate the proponents of the revolutionary government, especially that even President Duterte disowned the intention of the group. The group is demanding that the president take over the revolutionary government until December 2021 in order to pave the way for the elections under a new federal form of government. But in Tuesday's TV address, the president disclosed that he has no idea about the existence of such group.
Revolutionary government, tapos ako ang sinasabi na wala akong pakialam niyan, wala akong kilala ng mga tao na yan. At hindi ko yan trabaho.
Malacanang said that the advice given to President Duterte to stop drinking or risk having cancer was given to him by his doctors even before he became the president of the country. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque made the statement after the president revealed Tuesday about his doctor's warning that his Barrett's disease is nearing stage 1 cancer because of his drinking habits. Roque said people are simply putting too much meaning on what the president said. The palace official adds President Duterte has always been transparent about his health and that there is no need to issue any medical bulletin. During his television briefing Tuesday morning, the chief executive nonchalantly disclosed a supposed diagnosis of its doctors regarding his health.
Matagal na kami sa gobyerno. Magpa-retire na lang. Bakit pa namin pagsayangan? Kung konting panahon na lang na iwan. So, walang ganang kumain. May pera ka naman, hindi ka na makakain. Kaya sabi ng doktor, huwag kang kumain ng taba kasi mamatay ka. Ikaw, Duterte, huwag ka nang uminom kasi yung barit mo nearing stage 1 ka sa cancer. So, hindi na.
Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth President and Chief Executive Officer Ricardo Morales said he will submit his resignation later today, August 26. Morales, who was diagnosed with lymphoma and is currently undergoing chemotherapy, made his announcement in a radio interview earlier today. But the beleaguered PhilHealth chief assured he will still cooperate with the ongoing investigations with regard to the alleged fraudulent activities in the state health insurer. Morales' resignation came just a day after Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara revealed that President Duterte stated that it would be best for the PhilHealth chief to give up his post given his health condition. Aside from Morales, PhilHealth Senior Vice President for the Legal Sector Rodolfo Del Rosario also tendered his irrevocable resignation on Monday. Former Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines President and retired Lingayen Archbishop Oscar Cruz passed away on Wednesday at the age of 85. In a statement, Lingayen Dagupan Archbishop Socrates Villegas said the prelate died at 6:45 a.m. at the Cardinal Santos Medical Center in San Juan City due to multiple organ failure caused by critical COVID-19 infection. Villegas said the cremated remains will be brought to the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist in Dagupan City, where the Catholic faithful may pay their respects to the late Archbishop on August 27 from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. Masses will be celebrated by the diocesan and religious clergy of Lingayen and Dagupan the whole day, he said. The funeral mass will be held on August 28, Friday at 9 a.m. also at the cathedral. The prelate's remains will be laid to rest at the Santuario de San Juan Evangelista right after the Mass. Born on November 17, 1934 in Balanga, Bataan, Cruz received his seminary training at the University of Santo Tomas Central Seminary and further theology studies at the Lateran University. He was ordained priest in 1962 and became a bishop in 1976. He was the first Filipino rector of San Carlos Seminary of the Archdiocese of Manila. Archbishop Cruz served as CBCP president from 1995 to 1999. In Metro News, free cremation for Manileños who died of COVID-19. Parañaque receives donations from China to fight COVID-19. And more than 9,000 students to get 3,000 pesos from Pasay LGU.
The Manila North Cemetery in Santa Cruz is offering free cremation services for the residents of the city who died of COVID-19. This announcement was made by the Manila Public Information Office in a Facebook post on Tuesday. The bereaved family or loved ones of the deceased COVID-19 patients must bring their death certificate, a photocopy of their identification card, and urn to the cemetery. The relative must also present a photocopy of their own identification card as proof of relation to the deceased COVID-19 patient. Those who wish to avail of the free cremation services will be accommodated in a first-come, first-served basis. The Parañaque City Government has received donations from the Philippine Hupay Chamber of Commerce Incorporated to help the city in its coronavirus disease response. Mayor Edwin Olivares personally received from PCCI President Rupert Wang donations of COVID-19 rapid test kits, face masks, and personal protective equipment. Olivares extended his gratitude to PCCI and acknowledged the donations as a big boost to the city government's effort to defeat the pandemic. A total of 9,131 elementary and high school students from 3 public schools will receive 3,000 financial assistance starting August 26 to September 1 as part of the Financial Assistance to Students program of the Pasay City Government. Mayor Emi Calixto Robiano said the financial aid covers the 1,000 monthly allowance of the students from January to March of school year 2019 to 2020. Robiano called on the students and their parents to coordinate with the respective school officials for the date of the distribution of the financial aid and bring with them the necessary requirements. The mayor said the city government is also preparing for the distribution of the financial aid for the remaining almost 10,000 students.
And here are the top news in other parts of the country. Students stranded in Cavite for 6 months return home to Pangasinan. CAPIZ lifts mandatory clearance for regional travelers. And tribes in conflict for years in Agusan del Norte reconcile via Tapuda rights. More in this report.
27 senior high school graduates who have been stranded in Silang, Cavite since March have been reunited with their families after the provincial government of Pangasinan facilitated their return to the province. The students were composed of 14 males and 13 females who graduated from the St. Mary of Banyu School. The students were not allowed to go home to Pangasinan since the start of the lockdown in March. Several of them stated that they have been away from their home months before the declared quarantine periods. The students were fetched on August 23 by the provincial government's shuttle buses from Cavite to their respective homes. CAPIZ provincial government has lifted the mandatory clearances for travelers from the Western Visayas region. Despite being infected with the coronavirus disease, Governor Esteban Evan Contreras II issued an executive order that no longer requires medical clearances for residents of Aklan, Antique, Guimaras, Iloilo, and Negros Occidental provinces, as well as the highly urbanized cities of Iloilo and Bacolod. Mayor Jerry Treñas of Iloilo City, who earlier complained of the strict requirement for inbound travelers to CAPIZ, and that Iloilo City residents would be considered locally stranded individuals and needed to subject themselves to 14-day quarantine. After years of conflict, the Mamano and Manobo tribes of the Porogay clan finally reconciled and were reunited through a ceremony called Tampuda or Tangkob or Peace Pact at the Pangailan area in Santiago Town, Agusan del Norte Province. Tampuda is a sacred ritual of the Lumans or indigenous peoples as a way to settle disputes and mend gaps between clans having disagreements through unwritten treaties. The highlight of the event was when the warring groups entered into a peace pact by holding on to opposite ends of a rattan vine. The officiating tribal chieftain then cut the rattan in the middle, symbolizing the cessation of the struggle between the groups. Tribal chieftains and sacral datus of Mamano and Manobo tribes expressed gratitude to the local officials and army commanders for reuniting the tribes in northeastern Mindanao.
In world news, Africa could be past the peak of virus pandemic according to the WHO. Germany extends shorter work hours scheme. And stranded by virus, Japan couple become Cape Verde envoys. Let's watch this report.
Africa's coronavirus outbreak may have passed its peak, according to the World Health Organization, but it gives warning against complacency to avoid a second wave. WHO Africa Regional Director Matshidiso Moedi told a conference of African health ministers that numbers of new cases were declining, but there are still a few countries such as Namibia experiencing increases in daily cases. Africa has recorded nearly 1.2 million cases and at least 28,000 deaths since the virus arrived on the continent on February 14, according to an AFP tally. South Africa has more than half of those infections. It is the fifth most affected country in the world. Many governments are still starting to lift the lockdown rules imposed to limit the spread of the virus. Meanwhile, the United Nations World Health Organization declared that Africa was now free of polio virus, a landmark in a decades-long campaign to eradicate the notorious disease around the world. Polio virus now joins smallpox in the list of viruses that have been wiped out in Africa, the WHO said. A German scheme that tops out pay for workers who lost work hours because of the coronavirus pandemic has been extended by another year to stave off mass job losses. Chancellor Angela Merkel's ruling coalition of conservatives and center-left social democrats agreed to allow the program to run for 24 months for any firm that applies by the end of the year. It also resolved to extend the financial assistance to small businesses until the end of the year and relax insolvency laws in an effort to avoid cascading bankruptcies. The shorter hours program, known as Kurzarbeit, sees the German government cover around two-thirds of workers' wages when employers slash their houses to save costs. The scheme was widely used during the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis and credited with saving tens of thousands of jobs. After maintaining a balanced budget for years, the German government has said it plans to borrow around 218 billion euros this year to help pay for its pandemic response. Japanese honeymooners stranded in Cape Verde by the coronavirus pandemic have been named unlikely ambassadors for the Tropical Paradise Olympic team at 2021 Tokyo Games. Ricky and Naomi Kataoka started a round-the-world trip in December in South Africa and were working their way north in February when the scale of the pandemic began to become clear. They scrapped their plans to continue on to Europe and decided to fly to Cape Verde. But when the country's airport shut down, they were stuck. And Rikia, who runs the share house business in Tokyo and works as a videographer, began producing videos and photos for local restaurants and resorts in exchange for meals and lodging. Word gradually got out and local media picked up the story, catching the eye of the country's Olympic officials.
In entertainment, singer Regine Velasquez has been revealed as honoree in this year's NVP One World Entertainment LLC. The award ceremony has 4 categories. These are music, humanitarianism, nursing, and love, and it is headed by company president Nick Vera Perez. Regine's award is for Outstanding Extreme Vocals 2020. The honorees in 2020 also include nurses, doctors, lawyers, and directors. The awarding ceremony is on October 25, 2020 at 9 a.m. Philippine time and will be streamed online. K-pop girl group ITZY made their successful comeback with a new album, Not Shy, released recently. According to Hanteo chart, Not Shy sold 144,355 copies in the first week of release, or 79,696 copies more than their previous album, It's Me. Hanteo chart also ranked Not Shy as #1 on its weekly physical album chart with 142,007 copies sold from August 17 to 23. And in sports, Olympic pole vaulter EJ Obiena returned to competition for the 4th time this month but failed to make a podium finish, this time at the 66 Orlin Memorial Hanusa Kusochinsekego in Poland on Tuesday. Obiena, who is gearing up for next year's Tokyo Olympics, finished 5th in a field of 8 after clearing the height of 5.62 meters in his 3rd attempt. The 24-year-old attempted 5.72 meters once and 5.77 twice, but failed. Rio Olympics bronze medalist Sam Kendricks of the United States won the event with a season best 5.82 meters, while Netherlands' Menno Vloen also posted his season best of 5.72 meters for second. Obiena expressed his disappointment in his performance, acknowledging that he was childish and immature during the tournament. Obiena competed in 3 previous tournaments and had podium finishes in all 3. And let's end the day with the good news. A bikers community pitched in for a Sapatero's brand new bike after one of its members spotted him roving around Tanay Rizal with a makeshift bike made of scrap metal. Arthur Reblando of the bikers group Bakal Bikes told Manila Bulletin that his fellow member Gian Condino is the one who saw Mang Piping Padua, a shoe repairman, and took a picture. Reblando appealed to the group for contributions to give a brand new bicycle and financial assistance for the Sapatero. Padua used to be a sculptor of wood display, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, he decided to close his business and he found his new hope as a shoe repairman. The Bakal Bikes group have raised around 9,000 pesos, which they used to buy a brand new bike, helmet, extra tires, a reflective suit, and materials that Mang Paul can use to repair shoes. And those are the news on Web today, August 26, 2020. For more news and details, get your copy of Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. You may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your very own inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin, celebrating its 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.